Is the Fifine SC-3 the best desktop audio mixer that you can get for content creation for around 50 bucks? Yes, it is. That's the whole video. Like, comment, subscribe. See you next time. If you are actually interested in knowing why I think that this is the best desktop mixer for content creators right now, stick around. We're going to talk about how it works, and I'm going to show you what I'm using it for. So I've been looking for a desktop mixing solution for quite a while now, and I stumbled across this on Amazon. I watched a bunch of YouTube reviews, and I decided that I would give it a shot. Full disclosure, this is not a sponsored review. I paid for this out of pocket, and yet I still didn't pay for it at all. And we'll get to that at the end of the video. So Fifine advertises this thing as a gaming audio mixer for gaming and live streaming. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm not even remotely interested in doing that stuff. But if you're a content creator, if you're making YouTube videos, or you're doing podcasts, or you want to read audiobooks or something like that, this is not just for gaming. I think that they're kind of misrepresenting this product, and I'm going to explain to you why. So the most important thing that this thing does is that it allows you to plug a real grown-up microphone into your computer to do voiceover stuff. So this is going to take you to the next level of sound quality for your videos without costing a whole lot and without you needing to know a whole lot about how this stuff works. So that takes me to my next point as to why this is the best mixer currently available for content creators. It's easy to use. You take it out of the box, plug it into the USB port on your computer. It's absolutely plug and play. Your system will recognize it, sets everything up. You might have to change a couple of settings in some of your programs, but I didn't really have to do that. Like even Audacity, Kdenlive, DaVinci Resolve, everything I use this with loaded the drivers automatically. So basically what this means is that all of the sounds going into this thing come out through my monitoring headphones or through my desktop speakers, whatever you've got set up for monitoring, which is you're going to need something to monitor with. And it allows me to monitor the microphone volume. It allows me to mix that with the other volume inputs. And that's where this is kind of fun. And it brings me to the third reason why I think that this is the absolute best desktop mixer for content creators. And that is that anything that makes a noise can be plugged into this thing. So I have played with plugging in a keyboard. I plugged my guitar into it. I recorded some audio onto the absolute crappiest cassette Walkman that I own, and then plugged it into this mixer and recorded it back onto the computer. So I didn't need any kind of cassette emulation for those specific sounds because I actually recorded it onto tape and then recorded it back onto my computer. I don't think that this is an ideal solution for music producers necessarily. I haven't had great luck multi-tracking with it. I'm still getting weird latency issues even if I choose to just monitor the mic. There are ways around that, but I think there's probably easier ways to multi-track record. But if there's enough interest in this, maybe I'll have a go at this again in the future. Sometimes I have some musical stuff that I need to record for another project I'm working on for a different channel. And so maybe I'll give that a try. So let's go through the pros and cons very quickly here. Number one in the pros column, it's a mixer. It does what it says on the box. It allows you to mix different audio signals, and that is huge. If you're doing any kind of complex video or audio production, you need a mixer. Number two, it has sliders and buttons. It's very easy to use. I know that that sounds crazy, but I have a very demanding full-time job. I have a lucrative side hustle. I have all of my grown-up responsibilities. I have all of my fun projects. And then I have this YouTube channel and another YouTube channel. I don't have time to be dicking around with anything complicated. I know that sounds terrible, but the faster I can get producing quality content, the better. Again, in the pros column, it works with any analog signal source. I plugged in a keyboard, I plugged in a guitar, I plugged in a Walkman, anything that has an audio output, you can figure out a way to connect to this thing. There's all sorts of adapters available and they're inexpensive. So, go to town, have fun. And in last place in the pros column, this thing sounds way better than it has any business sounding. I wasn't expecting much when I bought it, but this is easily good enough for content creation. I'm going to tell you why. According to the statistics YouTube sends me, the vast majority of you are watching this stuff on a smartphone. You might be listening to it through Bluetooth headphones. You might be listening to it through the phone speakers. At any rate, it's compressed and it's gonna sound like crap. No matter what I feed into this end, you're not getting a good signal on your end. This thing is overkill for YouTube videos. I will say that right now, and I'll say it again. This is overkill for YouTube videos. On podcasting, again, I can think of a couple of very high dollar podcasts that I listen to that have like Shure SM7B microphones and they have an audio technician and they still sound like crap. Yeah, it's not just the quality of the gear. There's a lot more that goes into this stuff. $50 mixer. I can't remember what this microphone costs. Behringer SM8500. Fancy pop microphone screen. You're basically running at the same level as everybody else, at least in terms of the sound quality they're putting out into the world. So there is that. If you've made it this far in the video, thank you for sticking around. I really appreciate the support. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Share this with your friends. If you find this useful, entertaining, anything like that, please give me the thumbs up. I'd really appreciate that. So in the cons category, there's a lot of useless bloatware and crap on this thing. I could not possibly care less about RGB lights, like that just could not care less. So thankfully you can turn those off. You can turn all of the RGB nonsense off. There's built-in auto-tune, there's a voice changer. There's an option where you can pre-record sound effects and then trigger them when you push specific buttons, like an old school radio DJ. I guess you might use that if you were streaming. Yeah, I'm not going to use any of that crap. What I need is 4 separate channels with mute buttons and volume sliders, and this has that. So I'm going to just overlook all of that stuff, and I think that you should too. Also in the cons category, for some reason, you can never fully mute the headphone output. Even with the slider all the way down, there's still some sound coming through the headphones. Not the end of the world, but I can hear it and it bugs me. So that brings us to the end of the cons list and fun story time. So I have 2 of these things and I didn't pay for either of them. And this is how that went down. So I ordered one, it showed up, I hooked it up, but the problem was the line out channel had noise and dead spots in the volume slider. Now what that means is I would slide the volume slider up and the volume would not increase or decrease evenly. It would cut out, sometimes on one channel, sometimes on the other. There was some crackling. There were some issues and it wasn't a big deal, but I mean, I had paid for this thing. I expected it to work. So contacted the company, great customer service. I will say that right off the bat. They answered my email immediately and they sent me out a replacement unit. So I thought, great, now I've got a working one. I take it out of the package. I unplug the dud, plug the new one in. And on the replacement one, the auxiliary out volume slider doesn't work at all. No matter what position it's in, the volume is full blast. The mute switch works, which is, I guess, kind of handy. And you can always just use the volume control on your outboard speakers. But again, I paid for this. I expect all of the parts to work. So I contacted the company again, and their return policy is such that they just refunded my money. So I took these into my workshop. I took the first one apart, cleaned everything with some deoxit, and it works much better now. There's still the odd tweak that I have to do to that particular volume slider, but I think that it just kind of needed a good cleaning. It's probably not a great quality component, and now I have extra parts I can, solder into it if I need to. The completely non-working one, I poked around in with my multimeter a little bit, and as far as I can tell, the slider is fine. Like, it's reading exactly the same as the other one, so I'm not sure where the error is. I don't really have time to chase it out, and it's really not worth my time, if I'm honest. I have a working one, and I'm just kind of keeping this around for spare parts. So I guess in the cons list, then, that is probably one of the biggest downsides to this thing, is that quality control seems a little bit spotty. And I mean, it's $50. You gotta kind of expect that. So to get a little bit philosophical here in closing, if you're still sticking around, I think that we've been trained our entire lives to compare everything that we use to the best. And that's childish. That's essentialism. It's nonsensical on a lot of different levels. I try to approach things a little bit differently. I try to look at my own needs, my own wants, the use case scenario that I'm going to be applying these things to, and I try to find something that checks those boxes. So it's not necessarily the best in some, platonic sense of the term, but it's definitely the best for me. And I think that if you looked at it from that perspective, you might find that this is the best for you as well. So there you go. There is a built-in filter system. If you've made it this far in the video, you probably do have the attention span to hear words like platonic and essentialist and so on and so forth, and hear me rant about consumerism. That said, wrapping things up, the Fifine SC-3, not sponsored, didn't pay for it, still not sponsored, has some severe QC issues as far as I'm able to tell, but is probably also the best desktop mixer for content creators, and it's priced at around $50. Like, you can't beat that. So until next time, keep making cool stuff. Thank you for all the support. Like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. Buy me a coffee if you found this useful, and get in touch with the folks at Fifine if you need a good desktop mixer. Thanks.